butcher's joy. Juices oozing from tender, succulent flesh, the sweet aroma of fine herbs. The master cook made dishes of meat that none in the city could resist. Every day, customers lined up outside his inn, waiting for their chance to partake. Even the king himself would sneak down from his castle to sample the master's art. But once he entered his kitchen, the smiling cook's face would grow stern. The meat he used was no ordinary meat. The years passed, and the cook and his inn disappeared from the town. But his cleaver remains as gleaming and sharp as ever, waiting for its next master. Deathdance. A long time ago, there was a small nation that was invaded by its mighty neighbor. The country was helpless as the invaders put its women and children to the sword. In the small country, there was a brave and beautiful princess who became determined to save her homeland. She disguised herself as a dancing girl and presented herself to the enemy emperor. The emperor, entranced by the beauty of the dance, immediately fell in love with the princess. But as he approached her, she plunged this sword into his breast and slew him on the spot. After that, the mighty empire fell into ruin and decline, and the princess' country was saved. To this day, every girl of the kingdom dreams of becoming the dancing princess of legend. Dragonhook. An imperial archaeologist unearthed this weapon's blade from the ruins of an ancient holy place. Believed to be the fossilized remains of some beast, the substance was incredibly hard. With great care and reverence, the scientist tried to sharpen the rock. But the substance was impervious to fire, to acid, and to all the tools of his workshop. Driven mad by the unyielding substance that sat reproachfully before him, the scientist smashed it against his head again and again, till he fell dead of his wounds. The darkly glimmering substance was the claw of an earth dragon, and only human blood can sharpen its edge. And so, for ignorance, did another scientist die. Glory's Bane. Once upon a time, on a warm spring day, an evil dragon attacked a palace. He killed the royal family, the palace guard, and even the court jester, just because he felt like it. Satisfied with his work, the dragon settled down for a nap in the throne room. And it was then that a little girl walked in, holding a sword. She shook the dragon awake. She asked, "Could you tell me where the king is, please? I have to kill him." Rather taken aback, the dragon replies,
"I've already eaten him."
Hearing this, the little girl bowed politely and said, "Thank you very much." Puzzled by her appreciation, the dragon asked,
"Why do you thank me, little girl?"
The girl replied, "The king you ate was not the true king. My dead mummy told me that he took the palace from my daddy. That's why I had to kill him, to get my palace back." The little girl wasn't lying either. She really was the rightful heir to the throne. The girl continued, "Now I'm queen. I'm going to kill all the people who let my daddy die." The dragon laughed and said,
"Very well, little queen. Then I shall bestow my power upon you and your sword."
So they exchanged their beating hearts. Then the little girl took her sword, slaughtered everyone, and lived happily ever after. Hunter's Joy. In a certain country lived a feudal lord. This lord was enamored of the hunt. Each day he rode out to find animals to slay, his favorite hunting sword by his side. One evening, the animals of the forest gathered together in council. "We cannot survive much longer. We must kill the lord if we wish to live." So the animals of the forest surrounded the lord's manor, seeking a way in. But when the Lord saw them all, he danced with delight. So they have all gathered for the hunt. With joy coursing through his veins, the Lord rode out and slaughtered all the animals till not one remained in the forest. By the by, the Lord lived happily on to a ripe old age. Kingsblood. In ancient times, this black sword once belonged to a mighty king who built a glorious empire. Under his wise and just rule, the empire thrived and prospered, and knew no equal. But a ripened fruit can only rot. Spoilt by their wealth and prosperity, the servants of the king began to swell with pride, and fell into corruption and depravity. Powerless to cease the rot, the king summoned a wicked god into the blade of his sword. He then began to murder his treacherous vassals one after another. The god inside the blade reveled in the bloodbath. When only the king himself remained, the sword slew him as well, and the silver blade was dyed by the royal blood. Maiden's Cree. When the great shrine was built, young women were chosen to be sacrifices. They plunged this Cree sword into their own hearts. The blade glimmers with the souls of its young victims. The first sacrifice was a respected and pious believer. The pure woman was chosen to serve as the foundation stone of the new shrine. The second sacrifice was a kind girl of the village. Though sad to be chosen for death, she consoled herself with the knowledge that her sacrifice would help others. The third sacrifice was a girl who made her living as a thief. She cursed the gods angrily as her life was taken. At the moment the sword struck home, it coiled and writhed like a wounded snake. Ravenfeeder. A circular bladed sword owned by a noble family that lived deep within a great forest. It was said that the user of this weapon would be blessed by the gods with 3 lives. The sword was originally designed as a tool for torture. Its outer blade is sharp enough to bisect a man with one stroke, while the inner is kept dull to inflict hideous pain. Poison can be poured into the handle. As soon as the victim is cut, the poison flows into the wound and causes nearly instantaneous death. So cruel was this weapon judged to be, it was banned by the old kings. Soon thereafter, it became infamous as the tool of assassins. Scream. There was once a handsome young man who stole from village to village, seducing the maidens and promising his hand in marriage. Captivated by his charm and beauty, the young women gave him their land, their gold, their livestock, and their hearts. But at one midsummer festival, his victims met and discovered the young man's frauds. The incensed women vowed revenge. With the help of the king of the fairies, they cast a curse on the youth, dooming the suitor's still living soul to be sealed within this sword. Even now, from deep within the cold steel of the blade, you can hear the pitiful screams of the young man as he laments his callous crimes. Swordsmasher. A sword serrated like a saw, able to cut through enemy weapons. But with each use, vibrations shake the user's arm, causing the flesh to turn weak and translucent like wax. Many centuries ago, there was a brave knight who fought and defeated countless enemies. But as he fought, his flesh became paler and paler. Then came a war on which the fate of the kingdom hung in the balance. The knight took the head of the enemy general and won the battle. But he had grown so pale as to be transparent. As the soldiers celebrated the victory, a single arrow struck the knight through his heart. But none could see the invisible knight, and his death went noticed by none.